Shauna, these seniors have done a lot for this program. How do you kind of look at how important their presence was in taking this where it's gone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's enough time really right now in this setting to be able, for me to fully explain their value, what they mean to the program, what they mean to me. It's just an amazing group of first off, just people that, again, have been loyal, who have believed, never wavered, just continued to fight. They believed in the one-way approach. They believe in each other. They believe in themselves, and just a group that you just are so happy for, that they've been able to kind of reap the rewards of all their hard work and their togetherness and their ability to get through a lot of different things that we've gone through. So just a special group of people, and again, super important to this program. We talk all the time about leaving a legacy, and they've no doubt left a legacy here.
I'm curious, from a credibility standpoint, what did they give you that winning can happen at Illinois when it happened for so long? I don't know if you feel that in any elements of your life.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of what they did, and I think that goes hand in hand with leaving a legacy. Illinois, women's basketball was not in a good place. When we got here, we hadn't won in a while here, in 20 some years or whatever it was, and we believed that we could do it. That's why that's why I came here. It's why our staff came here. It's why the players came here. But to be able to do it and do it so quickly, and that builds credibility within, our state, within to recruiting and within our program and nationally. So now, when they talk about us, it's not, now we're up there with some of the better programs in the country, and we still have a long ways to go. We know that. We're not satisfied, but we're also really proud of how far we've come in a short amount of time.
Speaking of that, just what would a top four finish, a double bye in the Big Ten tournament, not only from this perspective of getting 2 days off, but also just from a program's perspective of getting into that part of the elite part of the conference? What would that kind of mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously for the moment of what you're feeling is like, we want to finish as high as we can, and we want a double bye, we want more days off. But when you look big picture and really put it into perspective of what this could mean in this league, of how hard it is right now, and to be in the conversation, to still have a chance to finish fourth place with one game left, that's a place we want to be. Now we want to continue to strive to compete for a championship, but shoot, if you can finish in the top four in this league, it's kind of like it's a huge win in itself. So there's no doubt about it that this is a big step, that again, to just be in it, but we gotta get it done. So there's just progressions and there's steps in this building process. But yeah, it's big, and again, just really proud of our guys for being in this position. If you told us a couple months ago, probably would have maybe thought you're crazy, right? So, but these guys never, they just continue to amaze me and everyone of their fight and their togetherness.
How much scoreboard watching have you maybe done yourself over the last week? Obviously, going to be a pretty big fan of Ohio State on Sunday. Yeah,
it's funny how all of a sudden you start cheering for certain people in your league, and it switched. There's one, I forget who we were cheering for the other night, and now last night we're cheering against them. It's like, oh yeah, we liked you the other day now. I mean, but that's the fun part of it too. It is kind of, again, it's fun because you're fighting for something still. It's not fun when you're towards the bottom and you're not playing for anything. You want to play for stuff. You want to be playing for seedings. You want to be playing, for have a lot on the line. That's what this is about. I mean, we're fighting right now for obviously a 4 seed. We're fighting for, and that's for the Big Ten tournament. And then you're fighting for seeding in the NCAA tournament. I mean, all these things matter, but again, it's a position that we want to be in. And yeah, go Buckeyes, right?
What did you learn about your team on that West Coast trip?
I don't think I learned anything new. It just again confirmed everything that I know, that they're not going to back down, that they're gonna show up, they're going to compete. We had multiple chances, in both of those games. We made some uncharacteristic mistakes in the fourth quarter, especially in both those games, but they just continued to prove that they belong number one and that they're not going to back down. They're resilient, they're tough, we're physical, and they believe, and that's all I can ask for them. So it was, those two teams are obviously really good, and there's when you're talking top 5 team, there's a big difference even between a top 10 team. You know, their length, their athleticism, their depth. I think the UCLA, I was preparing for that, and they said they have 4 or 5, All-Americans on their bench. I think USC has, both of them have like 9 or 10 All-Americans. I mean, that's just different, right? So it was good. It was a good challenge. It was good to see and feel what a top 5 team feels like. But it also confirmed us that we know we can play with anyone in the country.
How's Jazz?
Yeah, she's doing better day by day, and it'll continue to be day by day. We'll see how each day she's progressed a little bit. So I can't tell you one way or another. Hopefully she keeps progressing today and tomorrow in practice.
But beyond her, what's been the value of a week of rest for players who log a ton of minutes right now?
When I really this week thought about it, I'm like, we have been nonstop, really, the entire Big Ten. Since we got back from Christmas break, there has not, I know for me, I've not felt one moment where I feel like I have time. And that's normal in a season, but I just think with how our bye week ended up being late, Monday morning was the first morning I was like, oh, like I can actually, I don't know, maybe talk to someone that I need to talk to. I know me personally, I've just been so locked in. I haven't really talked to, I haven't talked to my parents. I haven't talked to, you get so in the groove of just preparation, and it's been a lot. So I know, and the kids are going to tell you something totally different, because they're going to say, the same thing. For me, it was my own thing, but for them, it's like they just needed 2 days off. I said 2 days off. You guys need rest mentally, physically. Do your recovery stuff and get with Autumn, but otherwise I don't want to see you. And I think that was really needed for them. And we looked good. We came back and we looked good. We had some pop to us, and we've been really, really smart. I've tapered it off a lot in practice. We went really late yesterday, and today an hour and 15. Tomorrow probably I'm shooting for an hour. That's hard for me, but we're gonna start tapering.
To be nonstop like you have the last 2 months, and to play your best basketball as a team, what's maybe led to that success despite 5, 6, 7 player rotation that you played with?
I think that's a tough question, right? Because there's so many things that go into it. But I just come back to this team and their togetherness and just like the overall buy-in. They're just so locked in right now, and they really have been. And I think that, again, I've said this, but their experience together. We've gone through things before, and sometimes you got to go through stuff in order to be prepared for this. And I don't know, and I've said this multiple times, I don't know if this team, last year or the year before could have, but when you're together and you have such a strong trust in one another, we know what each other look like on our good days, our bad days, and everything in between. And we just have such a good feel for each other. And I'm talking players to players, coaches to players. There's just a comfort level with everything. And that just, I don't think you can you can't build that and construct that without just going through tough times together.
And then too, to have that connectedness like you talked about and the players have talked about, how unique is that, and maybe compared to some of the past teams you've had, whether at Dayton or wherever, that have had that ability?
It's very unique, and I think that's when, at Dayton I would always say those were like your championship teams. This team is a championship team. We won a championship last year at the core group. So I think you have those special years with special connectiveness, special just, consistency, how they come and work every day. And when you look back on those teams, you can usually say, man, they probably, we didn't really have a lot of bad practices. That's great leadership. That's experience. That's kids just understanding the culture, standards, expectations. Where year one, we won, but they were still learning all that. And now you have the buy-in, and now you have the leadership from within, where it's not always me, it's not always our assistants, and that's when you really have something special.
I'm curious if year one, if we had told you the same core group would have stayed around just in this climate of college basketball, if you would have thought that was possible given how rare it is, and how have you felt that group's presence, I guess, over this?
Back then I actually probably was naive, and I probably would have said, really with this group, I probably would have said they're all going to stay. But when you had like Makaira and Bren came with us, so they obviously were super loyal. and Jen kind of going through her thing and coming and you know, I just believed that, I just had a belief that it was all going to work. And then KB, like she had already transferred, and then Dell just, I don't know why with her, like I've told you guys all my stories with her, like our first meeting, she's like, Coach, we're going to win a Big Ten championship. I'm like, Dell, you haven't won like how many games? But I loved her positivity, so I'm like, yeah, we're going to get along well. So yeah, I guess I really, now if you ask me, maybe last year as more of the transfer portal, more of NIL came about, you know, but even last year, these kids just have always been, they're about the right stuff, you know, they're about, they have a good understanding of what this is about, and it's, you know, it's about the, you know, the culture, the relationships, the vision, and I think they all were really committed to doing something special together at Illinois, and that's why, amongst all the other reasons, they're such a unique and special group, because I don't know how many times now, I don't know in my career how many times you'll have a core group of this talented kids stay together for 3 years. I don't know. I hope so. I hope our culture is great and what we do is great. I believe that with all my heart, but it's different now. So again, add on to the long list of why I love this group so much. They're just a special group of young women.
I take you back to Minnesota. That game kind of feels like a moment in time where you responded really well.
Don't take me back to that, Jerry.
What would you, for your group, like Jen said, Kendall really had an inspired message, and Dow, and then things just really turned after that. So what did that moment in time, as hard as it was, ultimately be a kickstart to?
You know, Minnesota was definitely, and I listened to Jen's interview, which she did a great job. She's right. It was the lowest point, maybe the lowest point, and just with everything we were dealing with at that time, you know, like who was coming in, who was going to be able to, you know, do this and that, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and then we lost, and we had that game. We we were up, and the fourth quarter was just kind of it just all went to, you know, crap. And I remember after that, I know it was my lowest point, I know that. So, but I had to put on and I probably didn't do a great job of it, but after the game, you know, I tried to be positive and we're going to get better. We're going to, you know, but it was, even me, I'm like, it was a bad spot. And then after that, I know KB was the one that stepped up. I had heard, you know, stepped up and got on him in the locker room. And I know Jen talked about the hibachi. That was the worst dinner of my life. I'm glad now we can laugh about it, but ask my staff, just say hibachi, ask the players. It was like, we'll send little like gifts about this guy, you know, with a sad face on it. I was miserable. I don't think I talked the whole time. The whole thing was miserable. And then we were stuck there. We had to walk around the mall. No one wanted to be there. So I don't know, after that, again, you got to flip the page. You go from being on the lowest moment, but I know as a leader, I had to flip it and we had to continue to be positive. And then after a couple days after that is when we kind of, you know, we figured everything out. We announced, okay, they're just not going to be able to go. And I think that maybe gave some clear, it was just more, okay, this is who we got. This is what we're going to do. The season's going to continue. And like I always say, no one cares. We got to keep fighting. So I give our players the credit, but we could write a book about the hibachi.
Good stuff. Thank you.